gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's October the 17th, 2023. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined this morning by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented today by birddogs.com, my new favorite apparel company, soon to be yours if you check out their phenomenal products. I'm going to talk a little bit more about it later in the show, but birddogs.com has some really cool stuff with great fabric that I think you guys will love. So talk about them in a little bit, like I said. But Matt, first, we have some stuff that we have to cover. And it's interesting. We got some good stuff on the website today, not the least of which is a story that talks about how 12 of the last 17 years have seen Miami Hurricanes football teams lose 3 games in a row. I mean, that is astonishing. Okay. I mean, I know things have been rough around here. And we're almost like, it's like you're almost like afraid to go into a football season if you're a Miami Hurricanes fan, and the last week or so has not been kind to you in that regard. But if you think about this, 12 of the last 17 years, we have endured 3 losses in a row. And you know what that means, Matt? Like we say in the headline, man, this program is at an inflection point as it approaches Saturday with Clemson coming to town. And man, it's like you could feel the urgency when Mario Cristobal came in the room yesterday to meet with the media. Got right to the point, no small talk. It was like all business. You could see the look, just from the look on his face, that these 2 losses have not resonated well with him, obviously, one of which was directly attributed to a mistake that he made. But this is huge this weekend for Clemson and for the Clemson game. And I want you to talk a little bit about that. But first, I just remember I do want to give a shout out to defensive coordinator Lance Guidry. And we talked about him a lot on yesterday's show. Yes, he had a bad week. Yes, the defense was not as prepared as it needed to be for the turbo up-tempo offense that North Carolina rolled out there in the second quarter when the going was a little tough. And Lance Guidry was having enormous success early in the game, dialing up blitzes and giving North Carolina's offense a real hard time. Well, they went up tempo and the whole game changed. And the third quarter was a disaster. Miami got outscored 21-0, obviously never recovered, lost the game by 10. And here we are talking about potentially 3 losses in a row with Clemson coming to town. But Lance Guidry, he did not try to skirt around the fact that they struggled. He took it on the chin. He was very open in discussing it. There was no spin or anything like that. And I just thought it was refreshing. I mean, I loved it. I wish that we had that type of mindset in talking to the media before and after every game. At the end of the day, as much as all this means to all of us and all of them, this is kids playing football on the weekend. And sometimes it can get a little bit out of perspective just because of how passionate we all are about it. But Matt, I thought, I just wanted to give a shout out to Lance Guidry for the way he handled his disappointment of this past weekend. So now we'll switch gears to what I brought up initially before I forgot that I wanted to give a shout out to Lance Guidry. And that is the story that we have on the website talking about this absolutely astonishing number. 12 of the last 17 years, Miami has lost 3 games in a row. Tough one this weekend. No guarantees that it won't become 13 of 18. Matt, your thoughts on that stat, and I guess as it pertains to this weekend?
Well, I wrote the story, and I just didn't have much time to write it. I just guessed 12 out of 17. It feels like it was 12 out of 17, so that's what I wrote. So, no, I did check it. I was actually surprised. I didn't think it would be that many.
You better have checked it. It's in our headline.
I did check it. I did not think
If
it was
it's
going to
wrong,
be.
you're fired.
I didn't think I didn't even know I was an employee. Aren't you supposed to pay me? How do you fire me if you're not paying me? That's what I want to know.
I pay you for the stone crabs you catch, which you still haven't caught any, and it's 2 days into the season. So I had to go I had to go to the seafood market.
I couldn't lay the traps out on Sunday, but my buddy did it. So we have traps in the water. They're soaking. Numbers have been good for some people we know, and we're going to be off to the races pretty soon.
I went to the seafood market yesterday to get mine.
Okay. So,
but anyway, yes.
So yeah, 12 out of 17 years with 3 or more losses. And I think, it's interesting. I think only one of the years or 2 of the years, there was 4 losses in a row. It was always just 3 losses in a row, and then they win a game. It's like, they're like, okay, 3 is enough. We'll just win now. But at some point, and my point in the story was, once upon a time, when Gary was 78 years old, 3 losses was considered a bad year. Like 3 losses for the whole year would have been a terrible season. And here they are losing 3 in a row, not including all the other games.
We might have said the same thing a couple weeks ago when they were 4-0 going for 5-0 against Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
If you get the 5-0, you're thinking 3 losses would be 3 losses in your last 7 games.
Right. Which to me, look, I thought the North Carolina game was make or break for the season, and now it's broken. So you do need to beat Clemson, though, because you don't want the firestorm that comes with losing 3 in a row when this was supposed to be a program fixing guy at the top who fired pretty much every coach last year in order to turn things around, who went to the transfer portal and replaced half the roster with transfers and recruits with the idea that this was going to be a much better team. So if you lose this game to Clemson and now you're 4-3, probably at that point you're going to lose to FSU. You have to think you very well may lose to Louisville. That's 5 losses. If you lose another game, which could happen at that point, right? Because now who knows where you're heading? 3 losses in a row. It's devastating. You might be looking at a 6-win season all of a sudden. Maybe the upside's a 7-win season. So this Clemson game, you have to win it. You just have to win it. You can't just beat the BCs and Virginias of the world and the NC States and say, okay, but so we lost to Florida State and Clemson. Everyone else, that was a lousy team we beat. Maybe they beat Louisville, which may or may not be a great team. It's hard to tell after they lost last weekend, but it's not good enough. So at some point you could say, okay, we beat Texas A&M. Well, Texas A&M now all of a sudden is 4-3, right? At some point you got to beat somebody that means something. I think Clemson, regardless of their 2 losses, I think a win against Clemson would mean something. I think that Clemson is the name team in the conference, regardless of their 2 losses this year. I almost, I wouldn't rather beat Clemson than Florida State. If you have to pick one, you're picking a win against Florida State. But I think Clemson's a close second. Miami beating Clemson would have huge implications in recruiting, in the perception of the future of the program. On so many different levels, it would mean a lot, because it would also erase the memory to some extent of just horrible coaching against Georgia Tech and against North Carolina. It would sort of say, Clemson's got these highly paid coaches. They've been winning national titles, competing for national titles, winning the ACC every year. Our coaching staff was able to outcoach them and beat them with a team that I would argue has less NFL level talent right now than Clemson does. That would speak volumes. That would sort of take some of this angst out of the fan base, saying, what's going on with our coaches? Why is Lance Guidry losing his mind when he literally admitted yesterday? The first question he got, it was a little chippy at the press conference yesterday with all of them. I mean, Mario Cristobal gets up at the podium and starts just sort of giving a perfunctory speech about the game. Normally he just gets up there and he's, people started asking him questions. It was, he's sort of making it more official of a press conference, I guess. I don't know. And then he, went off the rails after a question about Tyler Van Dyke's injury. That reporter spotted Tyler with a leg brace up to his neck, apparently. He lost his mind on that one. And then Lance Guidry, the first question he's asked, what happened on the penalty? The first class, the guy can't even get some. He can't even have an
When was the last time you saw a coach run 30 yards out on the field like that? Or
Right.
probably more like 20.
Let the
But
guy have.
you don't see that every day,
Let the guy have an.
Threw his headset down. I mean, he lost it. Like he was in the heat of the battle. I mean, that I congratulate him for. But he lost it. But the thing I love is he didn't like try to beat around the bush or whatever. He owned it, and he came out and he talked about it honestly. And again, I already talked about that, but I thought it was great.
I don't know what he could have said dishonest. I mean, it was obvious he screwed up. What's he going to lie? Was he going to lie about it?
They usually try to spin everything.
It did bother me that he didn't take more ownership on the team not being prepared. He claimed that the hurry up offense apparently didn't bother them at all. They had everything perfectly in on time. He said that everything was in on time. The plays were called fine, and just the players got tired and missed some tackles. That's not true. So you say, he was so upfront and everything was hunky-dory. What a great press conference. No, he did not tell the truth fully about that. He screwed up, but he doesn't want to take ownership. But you're like, he took ownership for his penalty. I don't care about the penalty. I care about the defensive scheme, and don't blame your players. Take ownership for them not being ready for a hurry-up. And Gary asked him, hey, coach, have you seen a team? Have you played against a team that's run that fast of an offense? I've seen teams that run faster offenses. Apparently, those teams snapped the ball within 5 seconds of being tackled because North Carolina was snapping it 11 seconds after being tackled. They were snapping the next play. I don't know what the heck he was talking about regarding that. I think he had some bad crawfish for dinner the night before, and his mind got flustered or something because that made no sense to me. Now, it's wonderful.
Nobody can win with you ever. Like, nobody ever comes out ahead with Matt Shodell.
Listen, don't tell me that he's telling the truth when he comes out and tells us that
it wasn't his fault. Very open about it. Maybe I overvalued it. I don't know.
He was asked 3 or 4 different ways about the pace of the North Carolina offense affecting his defense, and he clearly said, it wasn't on me, it was on my players. And if that's okay with you, Gary,
I didn't take that away.
I'm going to tell it the way it is, and that's what he said. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That's what he said.
I did not take that away from it at all. I'll have to go back and
read the quotes.
I'll read the quotes. You can. I mean, I did not walk away from that thinking he was throwing players under the bus at all.
Because he didn't say it in that way, but that's what he intimated.
Because it was on him. He is responsible.
I'll read you the quotes.
He's responsible for preparing those guys so that they aren't confused in that situation and they can get the signals in.
Do you want me to read you the quote or not? Because I guess you missed it.
Go ahead.
Quote, we got the plays in. They were going fast and taking the opportunity to run the football. We were starting to get tired is what happened. Starting coming out of gaps, missing tackles that led to some big plays. That's what he said. That's on the players, not on me.
On the running game.
They missed the tackles.
They did. They were
literally that is what he said. So don't tell me that's not what he said.
No, he's talking about the running game there. The way they were just pounding the ball and they were moving piles 5 yards. He
wasn't asked about the running game, but he turned it into somewhat of a running game answer.
But he was right about that. Like they were. I was stunned at their lack of toughness at the line of scrimmage on defense. Leonard Taylor, I know you wake up and watch this show. Like, we're now going on game 7 of this season. Like, I wouldn't even know you're on this football team, LT. Like, you're thinking first round draft pick in next April. Like, I wouldn't even know he's out there. He is not making an impact at all. I mean, come on, man. Like you got to you got to play harder. He's got so much ability. They were very much exposed on the inside on Saturday night, almost to scary proportions, Matt. I mean, really. I mean, if you think about the fact that their best guys up there are going to be leaving probably after this year, man, I mean, you got Josh Horton. Hopefully, I don't think this year's gone the way he thought it would. I hope he sticks it out and stays, to be honest with you. I mean, he was a guy that came in, I think, looking to make an immediate impact and play a lot as a freshman. Obviously, he is not ready, or else they would put him out there. They didn't hesitate to put Ruben Bain out there. So he's not being discriminated against. I hope some of his people are watching this show. Don't get into his head. He is not being discriminated against. There is nothing that they would have wanted more than to play Josh Horton this year and have him be a stud. He clearly was not ready for it. Hopefully they'll try to redshirt him at this point, because he hasn't. I don't know how many games he's played in. We'd have to look, but hopefully he hasn't hit 4. But the point is, Matt, there's
funny
not.
You say that because in my other story this morning, I list him as one of the guys I want to see play more. Why not?
Oh, if he can do it, yeah, I agree. But it's starting to get late now. We're going to Game 7. I'm trying to think how many games he's played in. I can't remember.
According to Pro Football Focus, he has not played a snap, so he can play in 4 games. I would like to see him play. We have 10 guys on the site this morning that I want to see play because
good. He can play 4. He could play 4 of them.
Correct.
So hopefully he will be ready for those last 4 games. Or maybe if you want to play him in a bowl game, you play him in 3 games. So hopefully, that is phenomenal. I am so happy to hear that. I didn't remember seeing him out there. So great plan. I want to congratulate Lance Guidry again, my favorite coach, for having a good master plan with Josh Horton. But anyway, so he was talking about the running game.
I take it back. He has played in 3 games. He's played in 3 games. Yeah, barely any reps, but in 3 games.
Yeah, so I don't know. Now I'm going to take back what I just said because he's barely played.
At this point, it's about the next couple of years. Like, you need a guy who can get some more. Right now, he's played 30 reps all year. To me, and you guys can look at the story this morning, but you need to get some of these younger guys some experience because red shirts are worth something. You get an extra year. You get some extra time in the weight room when you're not playing, and et cetera, et cetera. But you've had half the season to do that. And at this point, I'd love for some of these younger guys to get the necessary experience so they can make the mistakes now, see them on film, know what they have to work on for next year a little more so than just being on the scout team and being in the weight room. It's really important, I think, to get a lot of these younger guys who aren't getting reps. Even, I think I listed it, just play any of the linebackers, any of the freshman linebackers. I don't care who. Just get some of them some game experience because guess what? KJ Cloyd and Wesley Bissainthe are not playing particularly well, okay? I know Cloyd had a couple of tackles for loss, but they've had some busts. And as good as Francisco Mauigoa has been, he's got a year left after this, which is great. But you need depth, you need personnel, and you got 4 true freshman linebackers, all of who are going to have to compete to start, compete to be backups, push the guys ahead of them next year. And I think that they'd benefit tremendously from getting some more game experience this year. So
yeah, well, now that you tell me that he's got 30 reps so far this year and he's played 3 games, absolutely, Josh Horton needs to see the field more the second half of the season.
I don't think you worry about red shirts anymore. I think you worry about the next couple of years. Don't worry about
I do
senior if they have that extra year.
I do. I'm still not. I get what you're saying. I'm still not a fan of
Mario kicks everybody off the team after 2 years anyway. What's the difference?
I know you're right. You're right. And there's going to be a lot headed to the portal again this year. But you know what? Like, I'm not a fan of wasting years of eligibility because
in theory, I agree with you.
Then you get an injury or something, and you end up wishing you had that back at some point. But anyway,
you get a medical red shirt. You know that, right? I mean, that's got nothing to do with it.
If it's at the right point of the season, and you don't always get a medical shirt.
Right.
But anyway, getting back to what we were talking about before we got off on all these tangents, Lance Guidry was talking about the running game in that sequence. But listen, I thought that he owned the difficulties getting the signal.
It doesn't matter if he's talking about the run game. He said he was getting the plays in. Like, the run game was when they ran the ball. That's when they ran the ultra high speed offense. They ran it ultra high speed, run it or pass it. The pass is when they slowed down a little more at times. Regardless, he clearly put on the player's guard. The fact you can't see that when he said it twice.
I'll have to go back and watch it. I walked away thinking he was pretty open and honest. So I'm not taking your word for it. You are the most negative individual.
I just read his quote. He literally said another quote
about the state line. Okay, so I'm not taking your word for it. If I misinterpreted
it's funny you call me negative. You call me negative because you're so positive. Because this program for 20 years has been so good. There's so much to be positive about. They've only lost 2 in a row. It's not 3 in a row yet. So let's throw a party. They haven't lost 3 in a row. This might be the 6th time in 18 years they don't lose 3 in a row. Let's have a party, Ferman. Let's be positive. Negative, that's crazy.
I had this conversation yesterday with the second most negative person I know, and I'm not going to name him. But listen, if there's a couple things, okay, the Georgia Tech game was a mess. Never should have been close. Mario screwed up at the end, no doubt. North Carolina game, I thought they were very competitive. I think they just had a bad third quarter for several different reasons. The turnovers and the defensive issues, getting the plays in and not having mental busts, and it got away from them and they lost. But I am not sitting here thinking this season has been a total failure and a total loss. And I'm not panicking.
I hope I didn't come across that way. I don't think it's a total loss.
I'm not panicking at all. I mean, they're number 7 in the country in total offense.
Yep.
They're I think, 18 in the country in total defense, even after the problems that they had this past weekend. And that is an enormous improvement. I don't have last year's numbers in front of me, but that is an enormous improvement over what we were watching a year ago and even 2 years ago. I mean, this program has taken a step forward. Is it as far along and I'm going to use the word mature enough, because maturity has a lot to do with this. A more mature team and program isn't in that game at the end against Georgia Tech. A more mature team and program handles the situation in the third quarter last night better than this one did. But no, it's not there from a maturity standpoint for sure. You got a new coaching staff that's still working its way into this thing, that has made some mistakes the last 2 weeks, including the head coach. But I am not sitting here panicking by any stretch of the imagination, even while conceding that they may not win this weekend, because Clemson is way better than people think. You know, they have this this kind of like black mark against them because they lost to Duke, which, you know, they lost to Duke at Duke. And, you know, Duke is a very good team somehow. I don't know how Mike Elko is pulling this off, but they are somehow an extremely good team. I don't know how they're going to look at Florida State. I think it's this weekend. But anyway, Clemson is better than people think. And this is not a layup this weekend for sure. We do not know now what Tyler Van Dyke's health situation is. I think based on what we heard today, I mean, yesterday, that there is a chance that, you know, may or may not play this weekend. I mean, we're going to see. It sounded to me like it's 50-50. But, you know, it's not going to be an easy out Saturday, no matter what happens. But, you know, Matt, I do think it's interesting in the context where we started this conversation of 12 out of 17 teams have lost 3 in a row, and Miami will be trying to avoid that this weekend.
Yeah, and look, I didn't mean to make it sound like everything's awful. They are a much better team than last year. There's no doubt about it. Is it disheartening they've lost the last 2 in a row? Absolutely. Is it disheartening that the defense failed at key moments in the last game? Absolutely. Is it disheartening that 2 different coaches have had boneheaded things happen in the last 2 games? Absolutely. But there are so many positives, you know. What was your question?
Well, before we get to that, I just found the numbers. They were number 85 in total offense last year. Right now, they're number 7. They were 96th in scoring defense last year. Right now, they're number 13. And they were 64th in total defense last year. Right now, they are number 18. And they were number 25. They were number 66 in scoring defense last year. Right now, they're number 25. So that is significant improvement, okay? You're not feeling it because they've lost 2 football games in the last essentially a little more than a week. But it's undeniable that this is a better program and team than it was. But, Matt, it's time you got to beat somebody, okay? Clemson is somebody. It's time. Like, this is a very big football game this weekend. You know, I have no problem, you know, saying it's almost a must win. I mean, you're coming off losing to North Carolina. Yes, you beat Texas A&M, but you're 0-2 in the ACC. You don't win Saturday. You're 0-3 in the ACC. I mean, come on, man. Like that is crazy. Okay. When you're, as we said, such an improved program, you got to kind of right the wrong this weekend. The Canes got to beat Clemson.
Yeah. The issue here is, even if Miami finishes 8-4, if those losses are to Clemson and Florida State, what are you holding your hat on entering Mario Cristobal's 3rd year? There won't have been a signature win really, unless Texas A&M somehow wins the rest of its games and does some amazing stuff.
They're going to be a 500 team by the time.
I agree. Yeah. So you haven't beaten anybody in 2 years. that's not what fans expected. You have to sort of meet expectations at some point. And if you're going into year 3, and if year 3 doesn't pan out, now it's become a disaster. So at some point, and you want to hope it's this year, you have to get a signature win. You want to beat Clemson or Florida State. So this is one of your 2 last chances, because the dial, let's face it, the dial's not going to move much if you crush Virginia, crush NC State, even if you beat Louisville, crush BC. The dial's just not going to move that much in terms of fan reaction. Oh, now we're back. Now we're great. Whatever fans want to say about it. Beating Clemson, beating Florida State, one of those 2, you got to win one of them. Or else you're just heading into year 3 without a signature win. And now in year 3, you've got to get it. And the pressure is just dialed up exponentially. And if at that point something goes wrong, you lose a quarterback to injury, something crazy happens to your best defensive player, whatever, now you're behind the 8 ball, because now it's year 3. And if you didn't get it done, that's it, right? You're on the hot seat. Every recruit's bailing. So I would really, really like to see, and I think they have to beat Florida State or Clemson, and I don't think they're going to beat Florida State. So I think the biggest chance is Clemson at home in this coming weekend. Clemson's not a big favorite for a reason. They're a beatable team, and Miami is good enough. When I say things about Lance Guidry not taking ownership and blaming players a little bit, which he did, whether Gary wants to say it or not, he did. You can go watch the video. When Mario makes mistakes, we call it out. Like, I call out the mistakes that I see. I call out the things that coaches say. Sometimes the coaches don't realize quite what they're saying. They're saying things to the media that are sound bites at times, but you can read between the lines and sort of pick apart what they're saying. I mean, Lance Guidry talked for 20 minutes or so, 15 or 20 minutes. He also said something which struck me, which I don't think he realized even that he was telling us this. But, when he said they got all the plays in, and it was just the players got tired. They didn't have enough depth. Nigel Lee got hurt. They couldn't hold up because all the plays that were being run so fast, whatever. Later on in the interview, he offered up that he's now changing how they're going to practice against tempo. Even though he said they got all their calls in, he's going to change how they practice for tempo, because all they did apparently heading to the last game was they would do 4 plays of tempo. And okay, now you guys understand it. We're good. Now he's changing that. Now
this is what I was talking about when you got off on all this crazy nonsense.
Yeah, but he didn't. He
is owning that he did it wrong last week.
But why didn't he just say the team wasn't prepared? I didn't prepare them enough. Like Mario Cristobal says that. Mario Cristobal will say it's on me. I made this mistake. But Lance Guidry didn't do that. Lance Guidry said this team was prepared. The plays were getting in on defense. And the players were missing tackles. He literally said it twice. The players were missing tackles and arm tackle. He said it twice, not once, twice. You don't need to say that. They only missed 9 tackles the whole game. Last year, they were missing 18 tackles in games, okay? They missed 9 tackles the whole game against a really, really good physical North Carolina team that ran 80 plays. There were games last year that teams ran 65 plays. They had more missed tackles. But according to Lance Guidry, it wasn't on him. It was on the missed tackles. Whatever. Moving on from that. He wasn't answering a question about his. He wasn't answering a question about his game. He kept getting asked over and over about this pace, and he said we practiced the pace. We'd run 4 plays, but you know what? Now we're going to run multiple series of pace, just so that whatever. For what he didn't offer why, but again, you read.
But that was an acknowledgement that what he was doing wasn't good enough.
Between the lines, and that's basically him saying mea culpa. For Gary, you don't know what that means. You could look it up. That's him saying mea culpa in his own way, because he should have just come out and said in the first 10 sentences of that press conference when he was asked after his penalty, he should have said, I did not prepare this team sufficiently for the type of offense North Carolina ran against Syracuse. It was on me. I will get it fixed. Because that's what he should have said, and it's what he didn't say, even though Gary wants you to believe he did say that. He did not say that.
He didn't say it in those words, but he did tell you how he was fixing it. I mean, what's the difference? Like, it's semantics. Like, you want blood. Okay, I get it. A lot of people
love it that
a lot of people want blood right now. Okay.
Listen, I thought the defense played really, really hard. I thought they gave tremendous effort. I think the cornerbacks failed at times. But you didn't, and you literally, there's a play, you saw the players looking to the sideline, looking for the call, desperate for the call when the ball's being snapped. I literally put that video in the story yesterday rather. So, I don't understand where he's coming from with this. Like, don't say players are missing tackles. Like, don't say they're arm tackling because they're tired. They were giving so much effort out there. I'm just telling you, for me personally, it was disheartening to hear that. I didn't like it. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say, oh, everything's fine. Lance Guidry
tired either.
Lance Guidry says everything's going to be fine. Whatever.
That I will, kind of shake my head a little bit. guys should be in supreme condition by this point. Like there shouldn't be anything. Oh, I'm tired. 7 plays into a drive or something.
And then
maybe the big guys up front, but other than that, I don't know.
And then I loved how Shannon Dawson got up there and he said how this was one of Tyler Van Dyke's greatest games of all time. I mean, he said it was right up there with the Joe Montana pass to, in the end zone to his tight end. I can't remember his name, the announcer.
He had some good throws. People are really on him too.
He had an amazing throw to Jacoby George when he was getting pancaked, like literally pancaked.
Killed on that play, yeah.
I mean, it was
that was as good as it gets.
Remarkable pass, and yeah, that was Dwight Clark. That's what I was thinking of, Dwight Clark. Because yes, I just looked it up because I have no memory left. I have 0 memory cells from having to deal with Gary Ferman for the last 17 years of 3 lost seasons in a row. So he said that Tyler made 3 mistakes.
It's only been 12 of 17.
12 of 17. He said Tyler made 3 mistakes basically the whole game. And that he played a great game. And, I think Tyler played pretty well. We talked about that yesterday. I didn't realize it was, that it was on film. Apparently, it looked like a really good game to Shannon Dawson, which makes you think that maybe this is about as good as this offense is going to look, minus those 3 mistakes, which I assume were 2 interceptions. And he probably missed seeing somebody on that pass in a triple coverage to Xavier Restrepo. Which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, I think the offense did fine against North Carolina. I'm just not sure that Shannon Dawson's going to change a heck of a lot. I think he's very happy with how the offense is doing overall. And for fans who want the tight ends to be involved more in the passing game because they think there could be a little more juice out there to be had, I don't think he's going to be in a rush to throw the ball to tight ends. He was talking about the depth at receiver now and getting more receivers involved and things like that. You didn't really hear him talk about, we want to incorporate tight ends, which I'm not sure he would say it anyway. Because if they're going to do that, you're not going to tell anybody. But I had hoped that against North Carolina, that was something we were going to see because I thought that could have been a secret ingredient for the offense. But honestly, now that you see Isaiah Horton stepping up, you see Brashard Smith stepping up, I'm not as gung-ho anymore on, okay, we need a tight end, at H-back or in the slot because, if Xavier is going to stay on the field, Xavier refuses to leave the field, okay? So if he's going to stay in the field.
One time they were trying to sub for him and he was trying to wave him off.
I saw.
Yeah, but
he refused to come off the field. He would
have trying to carry his body off the field after the game. He needs a little bit more of a break.
He would rather have a 12-man on the field penalty and stay in the game than come out of the game. I'm being facetious.
Total ball.
But you need to get Brashard the ball. I mean, that was obvious. Brashard barely played, in the first half, and he really exploded nicely in the second half. I mean, he has explosiveness to him that I don't understand why that should be kept on the sideline. I haven't seen a guy look like that.
Because the first time we saw how he looked the other night was the other night. That's why he's been on the sideline.
He looked like a different guy.
It's on him. I mean, he's the one that's waited 2.5 years.
Well, he looked great. He looks like a guy that you can't keep on the sidelines. Let me tell you that because Colby Young disappeared. I thought Colby Young was the guy I thought was going to explode against North Carolina because North Carolina
targets.
He had 8 targets and 2 catches.
But they're not quality targets. Like everything he's getting.
Not getting open, Gary. He's not getting open.
Understand, but he's getting jump. They're all jump ball type throws.
Correct. He's not outrunning anybody, which is
aren't high percentage. No.
Well, it's because he's not outrunning guys. I thought he had a little more speed to him, a little more shiftiness. I guess not. But to me, right now, Jacoby George and Xavier Restrepo are playing at an extremely high level. And I'm not sure that Brashard Smith right now isn't the 3rd best receiver on this team. I mean, Colby Young has been a little bit disappointing to me. I thought he was going to have a really good year. I know you picked him as your best receiver before the year. I don't understand. He looks the part. When you see him, you're like, that's what a wide receiver should look like. Big, physical, strong, fast. But he gets in games and he's just like okay. He's not great.
But think about this. Where he's not okay is when they're just throwing the ball up and they're expecting him to outleap somebody. Think about like those flanker screens. I think there were 2 of them the other night, if I'm not mistaken. One of which he busted for a big gain. I mean, there's times he looks very good. Yeah. He's just not getting a lot of opportunities.
Well, I don't know. I'd have to look closer. You can't see on tape sometimes if he's actually open and they're not throwing to him for some reason. Xavier Restrepo. But I mean, it's look, to me, this whole team is is somewhat still a mystery, because I just feel like there's so much inconsistency. If everything came together, if they were able to eliminate some of the turnovers and create a few more turnovers, because honestly they could be creating some more. Even Coach Guidry mentioned yesterday that Francisco Mavagoa could have got a strip sack, and instead he just got a sack. He didn't go for the ball. Things like that. They really have to understand how important it is to have game-changing plays on defense and not just make a tackle and move on to the next play. You need the game-changing plays that North Carolina had. You need the game-changing play at the end that Georgia Tech had that they never should have had. Things like that are such differences in games that can happen at any different time of a game. So if they're able to protect the ball better, if they're able to really be consistent on offense, and if Lance Guidry is able to have time to get his plays in, his defensive calls in, this team is, I think, really, really good. Are they championship level? No. But are they good enough to beat Clemson? Yes. Are they good enough to beat every other team on the schedule other than maybe Florida State? Yes. And, at the end of the day, if they finish 9-3 and they're playing really well, like, that would be amazing. And let's not say that can't happen, because Georgia Tech, they should have won, like you said. They were an elbow away. Honestly, to me, they were an elbow away and an inch away from maybe being undefeated, because obviously,
if they beat Clemson Saturday, what you just said can happen.
Right. And the Don Chaney thing notwithstanding, they were an inch away maybe from beating North Carolina, because if Henry Parrish had scored when he fumbled at the half-inch line and North Carolina recovered, that might have been a little bit of a different game. But obviously you can't rewrite history. You don't know what would have happened. But again, an elbow and an inch, those are the two differences. And North Carolina is a really, really good team. So it's not like Miami was getting blown out in that game. And if they can play and stay in the game with Florida State, for instance, things like that, I think would bode really well for the future. Again, you need to recruit. You need to fill some gaps on the roster. We'll see who leaves after this year. If Tyler Van Dyke is back or not, and what happens with Emory Williams. Emory Williams is a guy who I'm arguing now. I know the whole Jake Garcia, Jakari Brown thing from last year. Fans freaked out when I said, let's see if they can actually play, so we know what we have if Tyler Van Dyke, is gone next year, transfer portal, goes to the NFL, whatever. Like, we need to know what they have. Now I would like to see Emory Williams, because I don't know if Tyler's going pro or not. If Miami loses to Clemson, for instance, and you have 3 losses, the season's really sort of in the gutter at that point. You just don't know what Tyler's going to do. You need to know if Emory Williams can play in games and look as good as he has in practices. The guy has been getting rave reviews, but he needs to play in games. And I'm not saying he should start, okay? Don't start posting on the board, Shodell saying to bench Tyler. I'm not saying to bench Tyler. I would like to see Emory somehow get some serious real game series to know what he can do, and so he knows what he can do, and so he can learn possibly for having to start next year. Because let's face it, if Tyler does leave for the NFL or whatever happens with Tyler, it's Emory Williams, because I don't think Jakari is sticking around. It's Emory Williams, a true freshman, or an unnamed transfer portal guy. And those transfer portal quarterbacks, they cost a lot of money, man. The top transfer portal quarterbacks, we're talking about millions, because everybody wants them. It's a total bidding war. There's no guarantee that Miami's going to get the top 1, 2, or even 3.
I don't know that it's millions.
Okay? If it's a great transfer portal quarterback, we'll see.
Calm down. Okay, I don't think it's millions. Okay.
How much is Tyler getting?
Several 100,000, I'm sure, but I don't know that I don't know if he's getting $1 million.
Well, the top quarterbacks are getting $1 million.
Yeah.
So I don't know why all of a sudden a transfer portal quarterback who's the top guy in the portal wouldn't get $1 million, but apparently you say we get him at a discount. So that's good news.
No.
Because if Tyler's getting a discount, we get a discount on the portal.
I don't know. We'll see who they are.
But my point is, you need to know. You need to know, because if Emory is that good, you could bring in a transfer portal guy and have him compete with Emory to start. But like, you need to know if Emory isn't good in games, like, he may not be ready. He may not be ready next year to take the reins. So you need to know that sooner rather than later, because next year this team has to be ready to win 10 games. You can't be breaking in a new quarterback who's up and down. You need to know. That's such an important position. A championship level quarterback is what this program desperately, desperately needs. I know fans think Tyler Van Dyke is not a championship level quarterback. I actually think he's playing pretty well. I wouldn't say championship level, but I'd say pretty up there. I'd say just sub-championship level, if there is such a level. I think he's a really good quarterback. And if he stays next year, great. But you can't predict the future. And it's not like they're going to be in the ACC championship game. So, so all I'm saying to fans is let's see what else Miami has. And at the same time, get those guys experience so they can learn and they know what to work on even more so for the 2024 season, which is a really important stepping stone season for this program.
All right. You mentioned this briefly earlier, but one of the stories we have on the website today, we are looking at some young guys that we would like to see get a little bit more playing time in the second half of the season. Amazing as it is, Matt and I were in total agreement on this story idea and are pretty much in total agreement on the guys that you will see on the list. And I'll go through some of them. I mean, Riley Williams is number one, and he has shown flashes of really being a great tight end so far this season. Doesn't have, the stats to show it. He's caught 2 passes for 40 yards. One of them was a 22-yard touchdown. But have seen enough of Riley Williams that I think he needs to be playing more. Shannon Dawson suggested to us that he will be getting the ball to the tight ends here the second half of the season. I would like to see Riley Williams bust out. Obviously, you want to see Arroyo do the same thing. To me, I look at Riley Williams and I see superstar tight end. I mean, he's that type of athlete. And, I was glad to see that you and I were in agreement on that. Number 2, Ray Joseph has not been involved enough in the first half of the season. He has 6 catches for 36 yards. This is a guy, and I'm guilty, I admit it, I thought was going to have a big role this year. It hasn't worked out that way.
Me too. I thought the same thing.
I know. And he needs to get a little bit more burn second half of the season, but it's very crowded at wide receiver because Kevin Beard has done a sensational job. And a lot of these guys are emerging, like Isaiah Horton's number 3 on our list. I mean, what a play he made on 4th down when he wound through the coverage and gave Tyler Van Dyke off the scramble a target to get the first down on 4th down and extend the drive. And he was rewarded big time for making that play, which I love to see. He got a lot of playing time in the second half of the game as a clear reward for doing such a great job in such a huge situation. So that was good to see. He has 6 catches for 109 yards so far, including that 52-yard touchdown on the fly pattern against Texas A&M. So we would love to see Isaiah Horton do a little bit more this half. And, we go on and we name several guys, including Josh Horton, on the list. So make sure that you check that story out on the website today. All right, we've got some other stuff to talk about, but I do want to take a moment here and talk about, I'm just going to call them my favorite apparel company. I'm not going to tell you I sit around and do clothes shopping every day. Somebody's got to babysit Matt, and that's how I do spend the greater majority of my days, is babysitting Matt. But every now and then I will go looking for some new clothes. And I got to tell you, in the last several months, the greatest thing that has happened to my wardrobe, and my wife is very happy with these as well, is discovering birddogs.com and the phenomenal line of products that they put out, particularly their shorts, because they are so comfortable. And hell, I'll just cut to the chase. They have liners, so you can wear them without underwear, guys. I'm not going to go into all the details of the benefits of having shorts that you can wear without underwear, but there are benefits. I'm sure many of you guys watching right now would agree. So Bird Dogs, man, like I've got a pair of their shorts here. So these shorts, let me get this framed up right, come with these liners inside the shorts, and extremely comfortable, great fabric, nice designs. Like you see, you got a little two-tone here with the red and black, and they are just, really, really cool. And Bird Dogs, they make you look good. Okay. Look good and feel good, quite frankly. And they've got these stretch shorts and khaki shorts that are designed to fit slimmer, through the thigh and the leg, which gives you a sculpted look. And the women love the way they look, guys. Well, it doesn't matter whether you're single, married, whatever. These shorts, they have you looking, whether you're muscular or not, you look sculpted when you wear these Bird Dog shorts. And they fit way better than Lululemon and all those other brands that are made with a stiff, restricting cotton. Bird Dogs, they fixed that issue by inventing cloud knit fabric, and this is it. It's really nice and soft. That looks it stretches. It's got like a nice stretch fit to it, so that you get a way slimmer look without having to sacrifice movement in the shorts. And for you guys that walk around and sweat when it's hot, particularly those of you that live in South Florida, they make their products with an anti-sweat wicking fabric. It keeps you cool all day long. So check out birddogs.com. They got some really cool names for their products also. I'm going to show you. This is my favorite polo shirt that Bird Dogs makes. You see the Bird Dogs label there, but it's kind of like made like a golf shirt with that type of fabric. But this particular one, and they've got a lot of unique names on the website when you go shopping for their stuff. This one's called Gary's Anatomy. Okay, so any apparel company that names a polo shirt after my anatomy is a winner in my book. So check out birddogs.com. And when you do, go to birddogs.com/CaneSport. Okay. And there you will find a promotional offer. They will give you this flask. Show the logo in the front. It's got Bird Dogs on it. It's a really nice flask. It's a hydro flask style water bottle, actually, and they will give you that if you go to birddogs.com, enter the promo code CaneSport, buy yourself an item. They'll throw that flask in the box with it. So you will not want to take any of these Bird Dogs products off if you buy them. So check them out, birddogs.com/CaneSport. Use the promo code CaneSport. Get yourself a free flask. Get yourself some shorts, polo shirt. They have hats. You will not be sorry that you checked out birddogs.com. All right. So getting back to business here. Before we get to recruiting, the AP poll for basketball came out, and they made the Miami Hurricanes number 13 in the preseason AP poll. An acknowledgement of the Final Four. But, Matt, you know what annoyed the heck out of me? They made FAU number 10. Okay? Man, come on. How about some respect here, okay, in South Florida? The Miami Hurricanes remain the kingpin of South Florida. Now, I will say this. Jim Larinaga only has himself to blame because he needed to schedule a game with FAU. I mean, when are you ever going to have two teams from South Florida make the Final Four? Okay, it was the flukiest, most amazing thing you will ever see. Two South Florida college teams, one of them FAU, make the Final Four. This 2023-2024 season should be beginning with the Miami Hurricanes versus the FAU Owls at pick your arena in either Miami or Fort Lauderdale, either the Panther or Heat Arena. This season should be beginning with a game between the two teams that went to the Final Four last year. It's not beginning that way. I don't think it was the choice of FAU. So I love Jim Larinaga unconditionally. I think he made a mistake here and missed a unique opportunity to create a game that would have been a big talking point around town. I understand the whole thing. Miami has more to lose than gain playing.
Correct. 100%.
I get it. Okay.
But you can't lose that game.
I understand. But some things are bigger than that. You both made the damn Final Four. Okay. Could have started out this season with a massive local game that would have garnered a lot of interest and a lot of convo. Decision was made not to do it. I'm not overwhelmed.
I mean, look, Miami's whole thing is don't be afraid to play anybody. That's what it is in football, and that's what it should be in basketball.
And I'm not a big fan of playing FAU and FIU because you saw what happened in football a few years ago.
I'm talking about playing top teams wherever they're from. FAU is a top team.
I agree. And this was a unique. They're right up the road. You could have. I think it would have been a high interest sporting event that would have been good for both programs. And I don't think
playing FIU
is not a threat to Miami in the big picture. Okay. No. Dusty May is going to be there for one more year. He's done a great job. He's going to get another job. They're going to have to hire another coach and recruit an entirely new program and team. Okay. It's not going to be so easy. I like Miami's position at the top tier of the ACC more than I like FAU's in the big picture moving forward for years to come. But I get it. You don't want to lose to them right now. And I get it. But I felt like a big event game like that would have superseded potentially losing to them. So I wish they'd made a different decision. They didn't. So the season will begin with who are they playing in the season opener, Matt?
I think it's some 4-letter team. Hold on. Let me look.
You
asked me the tough questions.
It's going to be some nondescript team you maybe have never even heard of.
NJIT.
Thank you.
They play all 3-letter teams or 4-letter teams for the first 3 games. Well, 4 games.
Thank you.
NJ exhibition. NJIT, UCF, FIU. Those are the games.
UCF was decent last year. That was a tough game.
I'm looking forward to the LIU game because I grew up a half hour from there.
Yeah, well, whatever.
I even took multi-dimensional calculus one summer over at LIU. So
I wish they had started the year with FAU. I thought it would have been great. Okay,
but anyway, are you impressed with what I've done with my multi-dimensional calculus class that I took in college? It's come in so handy.
No,
thank God I took that class. I had to withdraw.
I knew you were a book nerd when I hired you out of college.
I had to withdraw from it because I failed the first test and I didn't want a bad grade on my transcript. So I withdrew from it because the professor spoke no English and was just draw on the blackboard. That's it. That was all I had to go on was some dude drawing on the blackboard.
I knew you were a book nerd when I hired you. Your letter and resume and everything that came in when you were in college was off the chain. I remember. It was off the chain, to be honest with you. It really was. I mean, I immediately looked at this thing and I my God, I got to hire this kid. It was so impressive. I knew you were a book nerd.
One of my writing samples was a Shakespeare analysis. So
I remember.
That was not a normal writing analysis.
Wow, man! Dude, this guy's a keeper. And here, all these years.
You know what? It's funny. I'm watching. There's a crazy adaptation of A Midsummer Night's Dream. I know all the Miami fans are also Shakespeare fans on Amazon right now, where it's based in Athens, and it's just the craziest thing I've ever seen. I'm only a little way through it, but I'm going to start watching the rest of it. I was watching too much film of football, so now I'm going to do what Lance Guidry does, because Lance Guidry goes home and he says he just watches TV and movies. He doesn't watch football because he'd burn out. So apparently the other coaches are all burning out, and Lance Guidry is the only one whose brain will be fine because he watches movies like A Midsummer Night's Dream when he gets home from work, hangs out with his wife, drinks some, what do they drink? Hurricanes in New Orleans. I had a hurricane. There's that famous place over there that serves hurricanes. That's my favorite drink. And, I appreciate that. I sort of like that. Crawfish broils and drinking hurricanes. There's nothing better than that.
All right. Real quick, let me touch on some of the recruiting stuff that's on the website today. The 2025 On3 rankings came out yesterday. There's over 24 Miami targets on there that solidified their spots. We put an analysis of that together for you guys, so check that out. We also have a story on Miami Central 2024 3-star linebacker commit Vincent Shavers. He got an offer from Texas last week. His commitment to the Hurricanes isn't wavering, but I'm going to tell you, man, we've had a Zuby out there for a lot of games, and Vincent Shavers is not having the greatest season in the world, and he may have to pick it up if he's going to keep his Miami offer, because we'll see what happens, but I'm not sure he has been playing this year at a Miami level, quite honestly. And listen, it's in no kid's interest to go to a school where you're just not good enough to play there, okay? Because you're going to end up out of there in a year and in the transfer portal. That's no good for anybody. And, it's particularly damaging when you have guys like, say, like a Thad Franklin, or I'm kind of disappointed in the Keontra Smith also. He's not panning out very well. He keeps making boneheaded mistakes. Well, those are two players from Hollywood Chaminade. Okay. To me, that's bad. Okay. The Hollywood Chaminade is a prime program here in South Florida. You don't want kids going to Miami from Hollywood Chaminade and failing, because that makes it harder to recruit the next guys. So we will see what happens there with Vincent Shavers at Miami Central, but we do have an update with him on the website today, so check that out. All right, well, that's going to do it for this morning for Good Morning CaneSport. Thank you so much for starting out your day with us. If you're on YouTube right now and you like this show, like our channel, hit your subscribe and like buttons. It helps us with the algorithms. If you're not yet a subscriber to CaneSport.com, we do have a big game special going on right now on the website. So make sure you check that out and take advantage of that and come join our community of fans. Got a great community of fans. It's the most passionate Miami Hurricane fans on the planet. I think you would really enjoy being part of that. And we would enjoy being able to provide our coverage to you every day to enhance your fan experience. And it's everybody's subscriptions that allow us to do what we do every day. So if you're not yet a subscriber, please get on over to CaneSport.com and come join us. And that will do it. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow, everybody.